And I've struggled with depression and self-esteem issues throughout my teenage years, especially spending 2 years out of school, not being able to develop critical social skills, and being isolated all the time for months on end, led to some serious depression and self-esteem issues that took me years to come out of. I thought my only value was lifting big weights, and that was that.
Yeah.
But I needed that person. And for years, I needed people to tell me my value because I didn't believe I had any.
I would like to introduce you to my friend, Larry Wheels. Many people know Larry as a global sensation on social media. He has millions of followers. People watch every move that he makes. But what many people don't know is the trials and the struggles that he faced from a young age until he found his way with mentors guiding him in the right direction. He right now is paired up with one of his best mentors he's ever had. He and Ryan Bentson opened up One Gen Gym, and that's his current passion project. But one thing that I know from interviewing Larry and knowing a little bit about Larry is that every single thing that he takes on, he becomes the absolute best at. Being able to sit down and talk to him and find out what goes into somebody who operates like that was a real treat. And you get to be a part of that and come watch. So come join us, because this is Larry Wheels and this is how Larry is making his mark. Larry Wheels. That name it has become a household name. And you know this, you know the pressure and the weight that holds with it. But something that's really fascinating to me is when I look you up and I look for information about Larry Wheels, it seems like everything started like with you at the age of 16, you know? So I kind of want to talk about that, but I want to backtrack a little bit before that. So why don't we actually start from the beginning? Like, tell me about the young Larry Wheels.
Sure. So I started my fitness journey when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
I was uprooted from my life here in America and brought down to St. Martin at 14. And I had an abundance of free time. There wasn't any English schools on the island that we could afford. There was only one. It was private. And that left me with a tremendous amount of free time because I wasn't in school. I was there for 2 years. So it's split down the middle of this island between the French and Dutch side. And on the entire island, there was just one school, private, couldn't afford it. So I just stayed home. I occasionally went outside, tried to make friends, but there was a language barrier, right? At the time, I'm 14 years old. The kids are around the same age, and a lot of them had very broken English, right? They had French as a first language, and there was definitely a language barrier.
Yeah.
So with all this isolation, I had so much pent-up energy, right? I was trying to look for an outlet.
Right.
And for me, I decided to try and join a gym. But the minimum age to join a gym is 16 years old with a parent's consent.
Really fast, there were no sports that you could do?
Well, sports are expensive.
Yeah.
The gear's expensive. And the sports we looked into for me to be able to join, like I need to be a part of a school and part of the system. And we tried, and I just was stubborn as well, and I didn't want to learn French. You know, I didn't want to learn another language at 14, and it was just, I was so far behind the other kids. So I didn't get homeschooled. There was no school. Right. So I was getting zero education the entire time I was there.
Wow.
And that led me to try and look for an outlet, which I did. And I would ride my bike around the island every day for hours. Didn't do anything for my calves, even back then, unfortunately. They're still...
You're addressing the calf, the calf situation.
Even with hours of riding my bike every day, the calves were still skinny. And I couldn't join a gym because I had to be 16. I was still a couple years too young. So I decided to get creative. I looked up YouTube videos and we're talking now 2014. So there's plenty of content available for me online. I figured out that I could get a pull-up bar installed in my door frame.
Are you serious?
I had that done. And I got a broomstick and cinder blocks from the neighborhood to do bicep curls and floor bench press. I did sit-ups. I did push-ups.
And you thought of this all on your own just from watching YouTube?
Yeah, right? Because I didn't care about my legs because I was riding my bike every day. So it never even crossed my mind to hit legs.
Yeah.
I just thought I wanted a bigger chest and biceps. So I think that's every guy's, first year in the gym. Got to get a big chest and biceps first. That's the biggest priority. So I got creative. I got some cinder blocks, which for me at 14 were plenty heavy to get some gains.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, I made a transformation.
Yeah.
I think there's a video I posted of me doing my very first ever posing video at 14 and a half, maybe 15 years old.
Yeah.
And my chest developed, my bicep developed.
Yeah.
The bicep peaks are genetic.
Yeah.
Right. I have people to this day ask me, how do I get peaks like yours? Yeah. And I say, well, you can't if you aren't born with it. Because even before I started working out, I always had a tall, peaky bicep.
Yeah. Which is good. You're always so honest with people. You're like, this is genetic. You can't achieve this, but this I worked hard for. And that I think is one of the things that people are drawn to. You know what I mean? But for you, when you were posting the YouTube content, were you thinking, I want to go viral? Was that even crossing your mind? Or were you just thinking, I just want to share this to...
Well, I never imagined...
Be honest, no.
Yeah, no, for real. I never imagined that any of my videos would ever go viral until it did. Wow. And to this day, I need affirmation. Like, I need to see something to believe it, right?
Yeah.
So when I got the affirmation that, hey, like my videos can go viral after I saw the first one go viral, which I think was me lifting at an Equinox. Yeah. I can't even remember exactly which video went viral. Okay. I just remember like all of a sudden I started getting like hundreds of thousands of views.
Wow.
But even at that point, I never paid much mind to it. I just thought it was part of the game and like everyone gets views if they try to.
Wow.
And I took it for granted. It wasn't until I got my first world record in powerlifting, and sorry, I'm skipping ahead a little here.
That's okay.
At 21 years old, and my coach said, "What are you doing with your social media?" Like, I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why are you not monetizing it?" I'm like, what do you mean monetize? What's monetize mean? Like, I was a total idiot, like I had no idea what value I was creating with my content.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, why don't we partner together and develop training programs? And I said, well, I'm not a coach. He's like, don't worry, I'll be the coach. Right. You're the athlete. Use your platform to promote the programs. So that's exactly what I did. And that's when I realized the value of what I was doing. Because for me, it was just numbers. It was just some people giving me a pat on the back, saying, great job. Keep doing it. You're inspiring me. And that was fun. Like, I loved getting that positive reinforcement for the world.
Did you ever experience like the opposite of that? Like, you experience videos going viral, people just like falling in love with you, and then a video that didn't do so well that made you just feel, oh my gosh, I'm failing?
Oh, that just happened with Coach and I, my business partner, Ryan Bentson.
Okay, tell me about that.
Addressing Greg Duchette.
Okay.
That just happened 3 days ago. We released a video talking about doing 3 hours of cardio. And I'm not nowhere near as educated as Ryan. So I'll let him do all the talking. And I take Ryan's word as fact because he has a resume to prove that he knows what he's talking about, and he's proven himself with practical application. Like, he has hundreds of Olympians and pro cards. So
he knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff. I never doubted him. And when he says, do this or do that, I don't question him. So when he was talking about cardio and me doing 3 hours of it before
Greg Doucette was saying that.
Yeah, exactly. He was addressing Greg Duchette, saying, well, if you really want it bad, you will do 3 hours of cardio. And then we made a video addressing how that's not optimal for what we're trying to achieve. There's muscle being wasted, and it doesn't make sense to, instead of eating less food, do more cardio, eat more food. So we were disputing that. And then it was a completely negative response. Right? We got the video live now. Greg made it response video, and we're getting roasted. Like, you're getting roasted?
What are people saying?
Well, they're saying that, a lot of them are, it's so bad, it's like
they're
satire.
Coming for you?
they're coming for both of us. Mostly Ryan, because I did do very little speaking in it.
Yeah.
But they're still coming for both of us, right? I'm getting roasted. He's getting roasted.
Yeah.
And it's the first roast I've had on social media.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see like another perspective. Like this is what it's like to be in the hot seat. Because I've always received so much love and respect. And now, you know, when we went after Greg and this particular topic, it backfired.
Isn't that so interesting though? It's like people are such lemmings. You know, they just pick a side. They just pick whether they want to be on Greg Doucette's side or you and Ryan's side. And they don't really, it's who they like the most. Yeah. And people don't really have a mind of their own. And I think but with you carry a large amount of responsibility. And I mean, at the age of 28, that's a lot for you.
29.
Oh, sorry, I stand corrected. So you're almost 30.
Yes, almost 30. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. See, men want to be older, women want to be younger. It's just the way it is. Yeah. But you know, I think that's really interesting, you know, and to experience the opposite side of that. But I find it really fascinating because if you look at the comment section, you look at people and you see what they actually are saying. It's like really everyone's trying to pick a side, you know? And I guess, you know, if you're going to do a response video to Greg and Greg's going to do a response video to you, I guess both you and Ryan and Greg can look at the positive. Look at how much engagement you guys are getting.
Without
right?
a doubt.
You're starting a talking point, right? Where everybody can chime in and say whatever they want to say, you know? But do you feel that responsibility? That's what I want to know. And also I want to talk a little bit about some of the decisions that you've made in terms of your competing and other things that you've done that maybe were swayed because of maybe the responsibility you feel. But do you feel that weight and that responsibility because of your following, because of how many people know about you?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, I need to choose my words and actions very carefully because there is a whole nother generation coming up right now that's watching my content and looking for a role model-like figure to lead them in the right path, right? And I grew up fatherless without any male role models in my life coming up, and I looked to YouTube for strong male figures to lead me on the right path, to show me the way, because I was lacking that in my life, right? Yeah. I didn't have a father, or I don't have any siblings. I was raised by all women, my grandmother, my mother, my foster moms, right? It was all women. So I always craved like, hey, I want a male perspective to life. So the only way for me to get that was YouTube. Right. But now I'm in that position to be leading the next generation.
Right.
So without a doubt, there's a lot of pressure.
You know, that actually that makes sense because I was watching an interview that you were doing and you were talking about how there was somebody that you followed, like a gentleman that you looked up to when you were like 16 to 18, and he kind of led you down the wrong path, and he's now homeless and, you know, not doing well, right?
Right.
So that actually makes sense. You were looking for that kind of father figure. So tell me about that. Tell me about that period of time. You know, you were just starting powerlifting and you got introduced to, you know, drugs and alcohol and the party scene. So tell me about what drew you to his mentorship.
Right. So he's a veteran. You know, he served his country for 4 years. He was in college getting his bachelor's. He was working 3 jobs, right? He was a hardworking man. He had a stable relationship. He had his own apartment and he had everything I wanted when I was his age, when I was going to be his age.
Right.
Because at the time I was 16, 17. He was 24 or so when I met him, maybe a little younger. Yeah. And he was, in my opinion, the example of if I play my cards right, this is where I could be. I can have all this. Right. Right. And this is at a time where, you know, I wasn't even working yet. At 16, 17, I didn't have my first job yet. Right. My mom was supporting me. It wasn't until 17 I got my first job. I was serving tables and doing security like he was. Yeah. And he helped me get those jobs. Right. Got it. So he was just more experienced in life. And this was like the first person that was older than me that was willing to take me under their wing and like help me navigate the world from a male perspective. Because up until this point, I was only getting a female perspective. And I was thinking, this isn't right. I need to have both sides, you know, and be able to make a decision for myself after I've heard it from both sides, right? Yeah. So he eventually ended up succumbing to his addiction. And, you know, to this day, as far as I know, he's still homeless and he's still struggling. Yeah. Right. And if I didn't separate and go on a different path, I don't see why it would be any different for me. So it was very...
and you saw that at some point. You picked up on like, he's going the wrong direction. I need to like...
Oh, yeah. He lost his girlfriend and he then lost his apartment, and then he was justifying his usage. Yeah. Right. He was saying, well, this is cheap and it's an easy way to get, you know, so he was making reasons to support his usage. And I saw that as a problem. I said, well, this is definitely something that you're taking too far. And then the minute he started trying to justify his use, I realized like he's already likely too far gone. I was definitely not equipped to be able to help somebody in his position be out of that. Even to this point, I don't have the tools to be able to help somebody out of that. I'm not sure how anyone does that. Right. So I wish I was in a position to be able to do more for him, but the only thing I knew I could do was separate myself from him and protect myself.
That's pretty wise at that age. You know, you were able to assess a situation and watch the person that was kind of your male role model go the wrong direction and know at that age, I don't want to be like that. I want to get out of that. That's pretty wise at such a young age, you know?
Yeah, you know, I was fortunate to make the right decision and distance myself from him. Right. But, you know, to this day, I'm still grateful for the lessons I have learned from him. Yeah. It wasn't all bad, you know?
Well, in a way, there was mentorship there, right? By processing the negative side of it and going, I don't want to. Part of, I think, navigating life is not just like chasing after the things that you want, but also knowing what you don't want, you know?
Right.
You're processing both the positive and the negatives as you go through life, right? And you continued on, and once you kind of hit your stride, you started breaking world records. So tell me about your training for your first world record title and how that played a role in your life.
Right. So I picked up powerlifting when I was 17, going on 18, and made a lot of mistakes, got a lot of injuries. There's definitely a steep learning curve because...
Mistakes? What mistakes?
Mistakes as in trying to max out every single week. And poor technique that led to injuries. I actually had a hamstring injury that I re-injured 3 times. Yeah. The same injury because I didn't know how to approach rehab. I didn't know how to lift properly, and I didn't do proper warm-ups. I didn't do any proper warm-ups for deadlifting, which is what ended up with me getting a hamstring injury. And I got the same injury 3 times that same year.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Were you chasing after like strong lifts, or... two things can be true at the same time. Were you addicted to the views and the attention?
So at the time, it was more about getting stronger and chasing that next PR. Right. Because at that point in my life, I never saw progress so quickly in anything I was doing. Right. And I was hooked on PRs. And I think that's what made people gravitate to watching my journey. Yeah. Is they saw how passionate I was about heavy lifting. Yeah. The views to me were, it was nice to get that positive reinforcement because it was just a signal for me to keep doing what I was doing. But the PR, but I wasn't getting anything but positive reinforcement. There was no money behind it yet for years to come. Right. So, and I never imagined it would be. Yeah.
Your feedback loop was your currency at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So I was purely motivated by passion at the time. And it was like that for years. But
that's awesome.
You know, leading up to that first world record, it was a lot of mistakes and just no guidance, lack of guidance, lack of mentorship, lack of a proper coach. And it wasn't until I got my first coach, which was John Gaglione, I think he's the best powerlifting coach ever, that I was able to harness all that potential. Otherwise, if I never did, there would be nothing attached to my body at this point. Because that was what needed to change for me to not get hurt anymore and continue to keep climbing that mountain. And then once I finally got that world record, he, saw an opportunity there to monetize what I was doing. And that's when I realized, oh, wow, can have a career out of this.
Yeah. There's a lot of people on your path that they see you, they see something special in you, and they want to attach themselves to you. That feedback loop, has that ever really hit you as oh my gosh, is that part of what has helped you realize your value? Because it seems like every time you kind of link up with somebody, they see something in you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my next opportunity. There's something special in you. And I'm just wondering if you have picked up on that feedback loop, how that feels.
Without a doubt. And I've struggled with depression and self-esteem issues throughout my teenage years, especially spending 2 years out of school, not being able to develop critical social skills and being isolated all the time for months on end led to some serious depression and self-esteem issues that took me years to come out of. So I needed people like my coach, John Gaglione, to tell me my value because I didn't think I had any value. I thought my only value was lifting big weights, and that was that. And I'll be destined to be a police officer, which was what I was in school to potentially do for one semester before I got that record, before I monetized my platform. My next mentor, Black Tom Cruise, R.I.P., he passed away. He was a officer for over a decade, and he's explained to me, hey, there's great benefits. You serve in your community, you're protected, you're on the side of the law. So all of that to me, someone that's not educated, that doesn't have any ambition beyond lifting big weights, being a power lifter, was very attractive. And I did a semester. I can't say I hated it, just felt nothing from it. I just felt very indifferent about it. I didn't care if it worked out for me or not. But fortunate for me, my coach stepped in and helped me realize my value. But I needed that person. And for years, I needed people to tell me my value because I didn't believe I had any.
Right. And I want to backtrack a little bit because we started at 14. Okay. So growing up, you had just female role models, right? So tell me a little bit more about your childhood if you can.
Right. So for a couple of years, my dad helped raise me, and then he had me when he was only a teenager. Right. Oh, wow. So he had me super young. I believe the responsibility was too much for him at the time, so he walked. And then my mom was battling her demons, and she lost custody of me a few years later at 6, 7 years old or so. Oh, wow. And then I ended up getting raised by my grandmother and my aunties. Wow. Still no male role models in the picture. And then I was acting out, right? And I ended up getting released from custody from my grandmother at about 11 or so, and spending a couple years in foster care. I believe I was in 2 or 3 different foster homes. And they were great homes. I was loved, and they took good care of me until my mother got custody of me again. She cleaned up her act, she got herself together, got all her ducks in a row, and they gave custody of me back to her. That's when, not too long after, she took me to the Caribbean, St. Martin.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh
my gosh, Larry, that's a lot. That's crazy.
But it didn't feel like that at the time. For me, it just was my normal. You know, I didn't look at other children and think, I wish I had a mom and dad and a stable family. I was just going with the punches, so I didn't see myself as a victim or like I was having a difficult childhood. Because that's all I ever knew.
Yeah. It's crazy because you walk into a room and you have such a strong, just masculine presence. I mean, you were like the man. You walk into a room and it's like the man has showed up, it's just crazy because, the way that the path that you took, having, female role models, kind of maybe landing, a role model that wasn't steering you in the right direction. And then eventually finding, your powerlifting coach who really saw something in you, saw potential. It's almost like you were just like destined to be the man, right? It was like, it was in you, but you're kind of like on the path to kind of find the right direction for that, you know, which I think is so interesting. It's interesting where you got started and then where you are now. So then you had a powerlifting coach. Tell me about your first world record.
My first world record was definitely something I knew I had it in me, because what made me get into powerlifting in the first place was watching people like Pete Rubish, Chris Hickson, RIP, Eric Lillybridge. These were people I was watching that were killing in powerlifting when I was 16, 17, 18 coming up. I saw what they did when they were my age, and I thought to myself, well, I'm not too far off from where they're at.
Yeah.
If I play my cards right, I could potentially surpass their lifts, right, and take their spot as number one. And it took a few years to get it together with the right guidance. I did. And it all came together so much faster than I thought it would with the right coaching.
Wow.
Right. It all came together. What something I thought that could be maybe years happened in a matter of months, you know, just from simply being on a good program, you know, honing in on my technique. Right. So these things were critical, but I had no attention to any of the details when I was lifting without a coach guidance.
Yeah.
And when I'm at an expo, which I'm at every year, and I get the question I get asked most often is, well, how do I improve my squat, or how do I improve my lifts? Right. And I always advise them, well, are you working with a coach? And they say, well, I'm not. Well, that's step one. Like, find a good coach, because trying to figure it all out by yourself, it takes all the guesswork out, right? Yeah. And this is so cliche to say, but that's what changed my life, right? Well,
I would imagine, because when you are working with a coach, even just that encouragement that's weighted. And when I say that, what I mean is, like, you could have somebody off the street say, like, you got this. But if you have Dwayne Johnson look at you in the eyes and say, you got this, that's like a weighted remark, right? If you have a coach who you trust and you respect and you believe everything that they're trying to teach you, and they're in the gym with you and they're pushing you and they're telling you you've got 2 more reps, there's something that has so much weight. Would you agree with that?
Oh, without a doubt. I knew that if I followed his instruction to the T, I was going to get the result he said I'm going to get. And every time I did that, I got the result he said I'm going to get. We got exactly where he said I was going to be. But if I deviated from the path at all, that's the only time I got hurt, or I didn't get the record I thought I was going to get. It would always be because I deviated from the path, right? I didn't follow his instruction.
Right. What was your first world record?
It was when I was 21. It was the total for the squat, bench, and deadlift put together.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think it was 2173 or so. Gosh. I think I squatted 810, benched 573, and deadlifted 8 something. I haven't looked at my numbers from back then in a while.
Does it still stand?
No, they've all been broken now.
All your no.
Yes.
No.
The one I held the longest, which for a few years, was the 308-pound record.
Yeah.
And I actually got that record weighing in at like 282.
Oh, wow.
And the weight limit for that's 308. I tried to get to 308. So there's this famous video of me doing a full day of eating, and that was in preparation for the 308 world record in powerlifting.
Right.
And in my efforts to get that record, I realized I can't sustain that lifestyle. I'm just not built to be 300 plus pounds.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say I have 3 different records in 3 different weight classes. So instead of just cutting a few pounds and breaking it at 275, I broke it at 308 underweight.
But let's be real. Been there, done that. This is how you operate. You're ready. You're on to the next, right? And that's how you operate. Because I know there are several things that you've done since your powerlifting era, we'll call it. You took on bodybuilding. Okay. And tell me about that. Tell me about your kind of introduction to bodybuilding and what set the passion off for that.
Sure. So, my first rodeo with bodybuilding was
Because the training is much different.
Yeah, it's the opposite, really. It
Yeah.
couldn't be any more different. My first experience with competing in bodybuilding was in 2018, and I did it just for fun, right? And I didn't commit like I did for my last couple of shows I did with Ryan. And that's because I underestimated how dialed in you need to be with your nutrition to be able to place on stage, right? How dialed in you need to be with your posing to be able to look graceful on stage, to look elegant. Yeah. And I did 2 shows, and it wasn't until I got to the national show that I realized like I have a lot of work to do, because at my height, I'm 6'2". And open division, I mean, there's Andrew Jacked out there. He's like 330 in his off season. Yeah. I was maybe 270. Like I was way undersized, and I just realized there was so much work to be done to be competitive. Yeah. And I didn't believe I would be able to commit to that lifestyle long enough to be great. So I pulled out and I returned to powerlifting, right?
Do you feel like, because at the time you had already gone viral, so many people were following you. Did you feel some type of way after you did your show and maybe feel like you didn't perform as well as people were expecting you to perform? Did you feel anything from your fans, or did you experience anything that affected your confidence? Well, because it's something most people won't ever understand. Most people go on their journey alone, but you take so many people with you on your journey, and that holds a lot of pressure.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And my fans thought I would do well at the amateur level, and they were right. I won my first small show, but then at the national level, there was a lot of skepticism, and they believed that I'm undersized and I'm not going to come in conditioned. And
did that get in your head?
It did get in my head, because I knew they were right. I knew that they're not all wrong. They're not just haters. Like, there is truth to what they're saying. And
that you were able to see that.
And it's the truth, like I can understand my shortcomings, and they were right. Like, I didn't come in condition. I didn't work on my posing enough. So I stood on stage looking like a powerlifter, right? I underestimated what needed to be done to be great. And this is coming from a background of years dominating powerlifting, doing extremely well in powerlifting, taking multiple world records, right? So I got an inflated ego, because I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be a walk in the park like powerlifting was, right? Yeah. And because I was successful for so long doing what I did, it just totally blinded me to the fact that, no, I'm starting from zero again. Yeah. Right. I got to like crawl from the bottom like I did with powerlifting. There's going to be a learning curve. Yeah. Just like there was in powerlifting. Yeah. There was a learning curve. I got injured left and right, and I made lots of mistakes, and I plateaued for months, and I had to figure everything out. And I shouldn't have underestimated what it takes to be a great bodybuilder. Yeah. So that was a humbling experience. And it made me retract and want to go back to doing what I was good at, because getting positive reinforcement is addicting, right?
Right.
I mean, nobody wants to open their Instagram account and see nothing but negativity, right? So when I'm powerlifting, it's nothing but positivity. Right. So when I'm powerlifting, right, I'm conditioned to know, like, okay, if I do big lifts, I'm going to get a big positive feedback. Right. Yeah.
And you actually make me think about something. Negative feedback loops aren't always bad. We always want to, fight the negative, fight the haters and stuff like that. But I don't really feel like, you have such a great perspective. You had just the right balance of having the ego, but then you also know how to operate when you get humbled. You have a good balance of it all. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily think that all negative feedback loops are bad, because they do help us sway onto the right track. And I think for someone like you have such a big population to pull from. If you have, let's say, 5 million people chiming in, and a lot of those people are saying something, you're like, okay, there might be some truth to this, right? Versus somebody who has like 5 comments and they're all bad. You don't have a big enough population to pull from.
Exactly. Right. 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you felt the pressure. You decided to focus on the positive direction, things that you feel like you were really good at, which was, again, powerlifting. You fell back into that, right?
Right.
And Okay, so we talked about your powerlifting, but another thing that you decided to do, because you've tried a few different things, because you're just kind of like, on to the next. You decided to take up arm wrestling.
Right.
And it was the result of being humbled by somebody closer to my size.
That's right. Yeah. Even smaller.
And you were at your strongest, biggest state when you got beat by a girl.
Right.
Arm wrestling.
Another
that
humbling.
Must have been a humbling experience.
Yeah, life loved humbling me. I've been humbled. That was one of the biggest humbling moments I've experienced.
But now you're experienced, so I probably can't beat you. Otherwise, I would have challenged you.
Now I know what I'm doing. You have to work it out for you.
Okay, so tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I just completed my first strongman competition, right? So
yeah.
I was at my biggest and strongest I've ever been. And it was after the competition that they said, hey, do you want to try arm wrestling? I said, sure. I haven't arm wrestled in all my adult life. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I would arm wrestle my uncle and like people in my family just for fun, but I didn't know it was like a real sport.
Right.
So when I walked over to an arm wrestling table, I was a bit taken back, like, what's this? And then they explained to me how it works. And
really fast. They didn't have male and female categories. It was all just one category.
No, so there is co-ed? Categories. Yeah, but I was this was just for fun, out of competition, right? The expo was closing soon. And they're like, hey, let's get a quick arm wrestle and it'll be fun. Yeah. I'm like, sure. Then this girl walks up to the table. She's like, I don't know, 5'2", maybe 140 pounds. And she got me, and I wasn't ready for it, but I tried to stop the hit and I couldn't stop it. I got pinned. So
oh my gosh.
I was shocked, like, wow. And she knew, what she was doing without a doubt. Right. She was an experienced arm wrestler.
Right.
But that's the thing about arm wrestlers is you can't pick an arm wrestler out from the crowd.
Right.
Right.
That's
now
crazy.
That I've did it for about 3 or 4 years. Yeah. I know when someone's an arm wrestler, just looking from the elbow down, right? Yeah. There's development in their forearm versus the rest of their arm that's abnormal.
Like, because you have to be like in a position and hold that position. Because if you get into a vulnerable state, I would imagine that would be, you could probably hurt yourself, probably tear a bicep. Yeah,
but what happens more commonly than a torn bicep is an arm break.
Oh, that would be a bad way to break an arm.
Yeah, and it happens with amateur arm wrestlers. Pro arm wrestlers rarely break their arm.
Have you ever broken an arm? Have you ever broken an arm?
Unfortunately did. I was actually making a video. It was like, I never posted it, but it's nerd versus bodybuilder. There was a nerdy looking arm wrestler. No one could ever imagine he's an arm wrestler.
So you were the bodybuilder, he was the nerd.
Well, this is part of the bigger. It's part of the video, and first I was refereeing a match. With a huge bodybuilder and a nerdy looking arm wrestler, and the bodybuilder broke his arm against the nerd, and then within 5 minutes, right? Ambulance came, took him away, and everything. Within 5 minutes, one of the staff from the gym challenged me, but not as who's stronger. He never did arm wrestling. He just wanted to learn how to do it. So we were going super light, just messing around super light, and he broke his arm.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
And honestly, ever since then,
Did that traumatize you a little bit?
It did. Yeah. I figured, just a freak accident. I mean, I was doing arm wrestling at this point for already years, and I haven't witnessed any arm breaks. So fast forward a few months, and I was up in NorCal at this really popular college. Yeah. And we were at a bar, and it was an event for White Rabbit, right? The college got together, maybe 50 to 100 people or so, and they did a little tournament just for fun. No one's an experienced arm wrestler here. And within 5 minutes of the tournament, there was an arm break. And after that, I got cold turkey from the sport. Yeah. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm tired of seeing these arm breaks. I just don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to break anyone's arm ever again. I don't want to maybe have my arm broken. I just got cold turkey. I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
Or even that girl that you arm wrestled. Like, imagine if you would have broke her arm. That would have been... That would have been bad.
And then it's a big recovery.
Yeah.
We're talking like 6 months, for an arm break, and then you have a nasty scar along your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then on to the next.
Yes.
Then you decide. So we're done with that. And then you decide, I think I'm going to try slap fighting.
Yeah. So the slap fight thing.
So how did that? Okay. So now we're like.
Yeah. So I saw my first slap fight in Vegas, the power slap, maybe a couple months ago, whenever the latest one was in Vegas. And I was inspired to give it a try because it's like just 3 slaps per person, and didn't seem too bad for me for what is like tremendous exposure.
You're like, I've broken a guy's arm. Like, this, like, what could,
I figured,
what? Done that.
I could take a slap for a few 100 million views, right? Like that's my mindset, because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is I'm an entertainer, right?
Yeah.
I make content to entertain. I'm not only just an athlete.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that I'm relevant. I'm in the spotlight. People are talking about me because eyeballs is business. So
keeping it real.
100%. So I saw like a slap from the biggest, best slap fighter in the world, the Crazy Hawaiian, would be an easy viral video. And I wanted to see what it feels like as well, to get slapped by a 420-pound professional slapper. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't too bad. Like, I remained conscious. I did lose my balance because 420 pounds coming at me, but it wasn't that bad, And if
you'd do it again,
if it made sense, I would do it again. But I say that, but I also only took one slap. These guys take multiple slaps to the same side of their cheek. So I don't know if I would be willing to go that far.
Oh my gosh.
But I know Dana White said power slap, he believes, is going to be more lucrative than UFC in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So it will be an easy way, to stay relevant, keep things fresh and exciting for the fans, and it's only a few slaps. If it had to be once in my lifetime, I did it, and it brings me tremendous exposure to a whole demographic I never had before. I think, what's the big deal?
It seemed silly when it first launched, but who knows? Maybe it's been around longer than I even was, aware of it. But it has since taken off, and people take it so seriously that. It has really become more of a serious, like the guy that you were slap fighting with, the guy that did the slap, he was legit.
Yeah.
Serious, legit. I mean, looked trained to perform that move. I mean, this was like this is turning into a real thing, I mean, it's funny, but it's real,
Yeah. I mean, in UFC, like I saw the same weekend, my first live UFC fight, and I witnessed a couple of knockouts.
Oh, wow.
And that was exciting because I never saw a live knockout, right? I never watched live combat sports before, so I never saw a live knockout. And then, but the time it took to get to that point versus like the time it takes to get to a knockout in a slap fight, I could see why power slap is so popular. Like, it's a 50-50 chance someone's getting knocked out.
Right.
So
that's what people want to see.
100%. So
that's what people come for.
Absolutely. It stays exciting.
So for you, like I said, you're always on to the next, right? You are, I mean, at your age, it's just so crazy how you have managed to master so many things as you go. But what I find the most awesome, fascinating, and intriguing is your partnership with Ryan Bentson and the One Gen Gym and the whole One Gen concept, really, because you have your One Gen Gym, One Gen podcast, and everything that you guys do together. Now, I know you come with a lot of talent. You come with, the notoriety, and Ryan Bentson comes with a lot of knowledge and tenure. And the two of you just seem like such an awesome pair. So tell me about how, I'm going to back up a little bit, but when he came into your life, and then where that whole partnership kind of came to fruition.
Right. So it was last year, shortly after I arrived to America after moving from Dubai. I was there 4 years and moved back here in January of last year. I decided to get back into bodybuilding, see what I can do in classic.
Yeah.
And I asked my manager at the time, hey, like, who's the best bodybuilding coach in SoCal? And then he brought up Team Zero Gravity, Ryan.
Yeah.
And I looked at the work he's done with his athletes, male and female, always coming inside out peeled. And I thought, okay, well, I can't change my symmetry and my muscle bellies, but I can change like how conditioned I come in on stage. So I said, okay, well, if I get the guy that can get me the most conditioned on stage more than anybody else, I'll dramatically increase my odds and show to the world like I can commit to bodybuilding and I could do what it takes to be formidable on stage. And, you know, we did exactly that. But when I met him, it wasn't it wasn't even a few sessions when he brought up the idea of opening a gym. And he wasn't suggesting that we do it together. He was just saying he's, you know, talking about doing it. And, you know, there's a few people that want to do it with him. And I said, well, why don't we do it together? And he said, sure.
That's so awesome.
It wasn't hard to convince him, right? Because I knew when I came back to the States that opening a gym needs to be done in the near future while I'm still relevant. And I want to take advantage of my publicity while I can, while the window of opportunity is open. So when he brought it up, I thought this would be the perfect collaboration for a gym because he is an amazing bodybuilding coach. And I come from a background of powerlifting and content creation. You know, we both are experts in areas that one another are not. So I thought this would be great because I've stayed relevant and been able to have continued success because of collaborations. Right. And I stopped powerlifting competitively years ago. Yet I'm more popular now than ever. And I believe that's because I continue to see collaborations. Every week there's a new collab with a new special guest. Right. And I thought, why shouldn't the gym business be any different? Right. So I saw
that's a cool approach.
You know, thought there was a tremendous amount of opportunity with Ryan opening a gym. And lucky for me, he was down straight away. So then begun our gym journey.
I think you have a natural talent and gift that started a long time ago. And maybe you've never really fully realized this, but I think that even from a young age, you have the ability to seek out the best energies, and you're constantly, without realizing it, maybe even the mentor that you were following along when you were like 16 and he was 23, you realize at such a young age, this is not the path for me. You know what I mean? And then all these people are coming into your life, not by coincidence, not by chance, but I think that you are drawing them to you. And I think that you're seeking them out, maybe subconsciously even, you know what I mean? The partnership with Ryan, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think you knew there was a potential there. There was something there. And what you guys have created together, I mean, it's crazy that it's just started. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all happening so fast. I mean, there's already been countless deals made out of that place. And we never imagined how quickly things can take off once it's open, right? Because it was such a crawl to get it open. And we assumed it would be the same case once it's open, but it's quite the opposite now.
Have you ever watched the movie Field of Dreams?
I have not.
Okay, so it's a movie about a guy who builds a field so they can get his dad and some like baseball players from like a long time ago into his backyard. And his dad, who died and was a professional baseball player, was saying, if you build it, they will come. And this phrase, if you build it, they will come. You have rallied together the troops. So you and Ryan, you've built something that now people are flocking to. You know what I mean? But it's kind of crazy when you think about it. If you didn't build it, then they wouldn't be coming, you know?
Right. That's absolutely it.
I think that's what is so cool, is to take a step back and to realize I created this. I created this monster that everybody wants to be a part of. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's one of my proudest achievements, honestly. And I feel like I'm serving a greater purpose, serving the community, this, Claremont, where we opened One Gen Gym, and the IE hasn't seen a gym like this before, right? If they wanted this kind of an experience, they have to go maybe to Zoo Culture, deep in LA, hour and a half drive. They got to go down to, come down here to OC, another long commute. People don't have the time for that. So people have been expressing so much gratitude for us opening there.
Yeah. Tell me, since you've opened, tell me about like one of the craziest encounters that you've had that you can think of since you've been there.
Well, the craziest would definitely be the grand opening.
Grand opening. Tell me about that, because that was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there was over 4,000 people that showed up, and we definitely did not imagine that. I, at some point, thought maybe the balcony, the second story cardio was going to collapse, because there was like 100 people up there or more, and we're definitely way over the limit. It was starting to get scary because there were so many people, we couldn't even see the equipment anymore.
That's crazy.
And I said, there's got to be something broken, at least one broken mirror by the end of all this. And nothing was broken. Nothing was stolen.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
I saw people talking shit on your video that went viral saying like, who would want to work out here with all those people? How can you even get a workout in? And I'm like, guys, come on. Obviously, they're not working out. They're having a grand opening. You know what I mean? But there were like a couple comments like that. But I just thought, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to train in an environment like that either. Like, it was like a sauna in there. We couldn't stop sweating because there was working AC, but when there's that many hot bodies, you don't feel it. But now things have calmed down. But if you come after 5:30, it does get pretty busy, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely are getting more and more traction. But that day, there were so many big lifts done because we attracted some of the strongest people in the world.
Yeah.
A couple of people flew out from Czech Republic, and one guy deadlifted 880 pounds twice at our gym, right? 2 different occasions in the same week. And then he did it again for a third time in the same weekend. Absolute nutcase. And then he did a huge 200-pound bench press with the dumbbells, 200-pound dumbbell bench press for the first time ever. He never even does dumbbell bench press. He just said, hey, I'm just going to try it for fun. And he repped it out. I'm like, wow. So we had a couple of super strong guys come through. That was really fun.
Oh my gosh.
We had Julius come and try and break the dumbbell world record for bench press and try and bench the 280-pound dumbbells.
Oh, that'd be wild in your gym.
It would.
Oh.
And I got a couple of guys that are going to come and attempt it. So that's the fun part about being in my position. Cool. I don't have to be the guy that has to do it now.
I don't have to be the guy. I don't got to be the guy. I just got to bring the guys. I don't got to be the guy.
Yeah. And, of course, a part of me does miss being the guy, right? Like being the one that's putting on a show. But the show still goes on. But now I'm taking on more of a role as a host. Yeah. People are asking me, I see it every day in my comments, like, what's happening to Larry? Like, is he just giving up on fitness? Like, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. Like, he's not powerlifting anymore. He's not arm wrestling anymore. Like, what is his goals now? Well, my goal is to, bring One Gen all over the country. Right. I'm entering my 30s now. Priorities have changed. I'm a married man. New chapter. And guys, I've been doing this for over 12 years. Back to back. Every year, multiple times you're being an athlete, competing under all that pressure. And I still want to provide valuable entertainment. Yeah. But it doesn't have to come from me putting my body at jeopardy, because to be frank, I don't have that fearlessness I had when I was in my teen years and early 20s.
Probably for the better.
For the better. I'm worried now about having another permanent injury like my bicep.
Right.
I don't want to tear my pec off the bone trying to break the dumbbell world record, or have some major injury. Now I got to go for surgery, get surgery for, and like, it's behind me now, right? And I feel I'm in a very privileged position to have people like those guys from Czech come to the gym and witness these extraordinary feats of strength and commentate on it, support them, spot them, give them a platform, an opportunity that they maybe didn't have before coming here. And one of my proudest achievements besides the gym is helping Andrew Jack come up.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Right.
I think people look at you and they think, God, like Larry Wheels has this dream life. He has it all, but I don't think people realize how much weight that carries with it, how much pressure, the stress. You constantly feeling you have to justify yourself to people that are saying whatever they want to say. And you do. That's the thing is that when people come at you, you always explain yourself, even though you don't have to, right? But I think that's what people don't realize is that the dream world that you live in comes at a huge cost that you've been willing to pay, right?
Yeah, there's a great responsibility living such a privileged life, especially so young, and I completely understand that. But I'm grateful for it, and it motivates me to keep doing what I do and be better so I can help lead the next generation of men that maybe weren't as fortunate as I was growing up. And it's definitely empowering, right?
I love
And
that.
I have people even tell me when they catch me on the street, I don't mean to bother you, can I have a quick photo? And it never it's going to bother me if someone wants to express their gratitude for the content I've been producing. It's whether, no matter where I'm at, in the gym, out in the mall, it's always cool. I'm always happy to take a photo or give people time of day. And I never understood those that are in a position of celebrity and that don't want to give back to the fans when they are the reason they're at where they're at today. My fans and my support is what helped me get all these opportunities, right? Because people watch my content and they want to see me succeed. So I'm always appreciative when I can give back
to
the people, and as I get older, I believe I'll create more opportunities to give back and serve the people. But that's where I think fulfillment lies now. And entering my next chapter is being able to help others like Andrew Jacked come up, give them that platform they didn't have. Because it's like whenever I see Andrew do well now, I can feel like butterflies inside knowing I was a part of his come up, And he took that and ran with it. He's on the Olympia stage every year. Likely going to win soon.
He could win. He could win. He's been in a lot of predictions. So that's so cool.
Andrew to me has the best physique I've ever seen.
It's amazing.
Ever of all time, and the fact that I was able to be a part of that, I just can't imagine being able to reproduce that with somebody else doing whatever it is they're good at. So, that gets me really excited.
See, and people felt that way and feel that way about you. So you know how it feels on both ends. That's so cool.
Comes full circle.
That is. It's a full circle moment for you. You have done a lot. I can't even imagine. You've done more at the age of 29 than most people do in their whole entire lifetime. So to think that we still have so much more of Larry to look forward to. So looking back at everything that you've done and then looking forward into the future, what do you think people would say about you in terms of what mark you've left? And then what do you want to continue on and what mark do you want to leave?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but I believe people look to me to be inspired to keep pushing on because I've come from a place where people see it as difficult. Like I come from a broken childhood, raised by a single mom, and then being in foster care, and people looked to me as inspiration to climb out of that. They say, well, this is how Larry did it, and he accomplished this and that. Maybe I can do it too. So I think that's a very powerful position. And, moving forward, I believe now it's time to put the business hat on and expand the One Gen Gym brand and my PR brand. And, we have patented product coming for PR and all kinds of exciting stuff business related that will help create a legacy, So when I potentially am no longer in the limelight, right, it's there's going to be something bigger than me, and I'm hoping it's going to be One Gen and it's going to be PR. That's going to be something that can support generations to come. So it's something I'm still working out, what my mark is going to be, but I believe I'm getting closer and closer to that answer.
You have a lot of time still ahead of you. But one thing that I admire about you and I think is so awesome is you've been in the spotlight. You have been, you've accomplished so much, but you also want so bad to help other people, and you're using your platform now to give other people a platform. And even just coming here and being a part of our show, I mean, you are somebody who is so rare. You want to help people. And I just honestly speak for a lot of people when I say that I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Well, that is a wrap. I am so appreciative. Thank you so much, Larry.
Oh, this was awesome. Thank you.